All right, thank you very, very much. My name is...
Welcome to the computer age. 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 Welcome to the 21st century.
Exciting.
Welcome to the computer age. Welcome to the computer age. Welcome to the computer age.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank everybody for joining us today. My name is Steven. I am the owner here at Magical Memories Entertainment. And today we have a really, really fun show. We have Meadow and we have Adam on today, and we what I called it the Bubble and Pop Show, and you'll see why it's called that in just a minute. But we're gonna start the show off with one of my favorite variety performers, circus type of. I don't want to call him a freak show. I think he's sideshow performers. That's what he calls himself, a sideshow performer. So I hope you guys enjoy. I have here Adam. Let's bring Adam in.
All right, thank you very, very much. My name is Adam Realman, direct from Coney Island. And what I'd like to do for you today is consider the single most daring act of a sideshow anywhere, and that is the art known as sword swallowing. Now, believe it or not, a lot of people think that the swords that sword swallowers swallow are fake, that they just collapse up into the handle. I'm here to prove to you once and for all that what you see is what you get. Now, believe it or not, I teach sword swallowing out at the Coney Island Sideshow School. Now, if you're interested and you're over 18, you can get in touch with me after the show. But that said, everybody here today is going to get a free lesson on how to swallow a sword. I would not recommend trying this at home based on this brief little lesson, but you'll get the idea as to where the swords go. Now, in order to swallow a sword, you need two things: mind and body control. Everybody's got what's called a gag reflex, and that's your body's way of telling you you're putting something down your throat that you shouldn't be. And I'm talking about a sword right here. Then there's the mind control. You got to convince yourself that swallowing a sword of any size is an okay thing to do. Now, I'm doing this for the better part of 20 years already. Mind control, it's easy. It's the gag reflex that sometimes trips me up. So after I swallow this and something else comes up and blocks the camera lens, I'll try to clean that off as quickly as possible, and we'll get on with the show, if you know what I'm saying. So right now, let's see if I can get the first sword all the way down. Yeah. All right. Woo. I'll take some applause on that, even though Even though I can't really hear your applause, I'll certainly take them. Now, that said, what I do like to do, that's my warm-up sword. I like to make sure that I actually can do this on this beautiful afternoon. What I'd like to do for you right now is something a little bit bigger, a little bit more daring, a little bit more dangerous, and that here is this sword. Now, this sword measures in at 23 inches of steel. It's just a hair under 2 feet of solid steel, but because of the handle over here, because of this ornate handle, it makes the sword a little bit more dangerous because it's a lot heavier when it goes down. Of course, if I'm not careful, well, let's just say I have to be careful. Now, it would normally be with this sword if we were in a live situation here, where I would call someone up from the audience and have them grab the handle of the sword and extract it from deep within me. I can't do that now. I only have 2 cats running around the house, and they don't have the opposable thumbs needed to pull the sword out. So I'll do it myself. So here we go, the second sword going all the way down. Yeah. All right. Now, of course, performing at home is not nearly as much fun as it is performing in front of a live audience there, where I have the interaction, where I can actually have someone pull that sword out from deep within me. Of course, performing from my sofa is kind of good too. So that said, friends, what I would like to do for you right now is the single most daring sword that I swallow. This sword right over here measures in at 27.5 inches of solid steel. I gotta hold this pretty far back so you can see the entire thing from the point all the way to the handle right over there. 27.5 inches of solid steel. Now, before I swallow this, I'd like to give you yet another lesson on how to swallow a sword. Of course, this here, if we have any doctors, nurses, EMTs, medical professionals who are watching the show today, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is the path that the swords take as they go down into my system. You see, the sword goes into my mouth, into my throat, which you can't really see because of this luxurious COVID beard right here, into my throat, where there's a little trap door that separates the digestive tract, where your food goes, and the respiratory tract, how you breathe. Now, this little trapdoor called the epiglottis opens up and allows the sword all the way down into the esophagus. Now, a lot of people ask me, Adam, what does it feel like to swallow a sword? Well, I can't really explain what it feels like, but I can give all of you a little experiment to try at home. Not with a sword, though, but with peanut butter. And not if you're allergic to peanut butter. Now, here's what you do. You grab a big spoonful of peanut butter, no jam, no jelly, no honey, just peanut butter, and lick it right off the spoon. Now, you'll feel that peanut butter slowly moving down your esophagus, which is that food tube, which is the same tube that the sword goes down. Now, of course, the peanut butter, well, really, the sword is not nearly as soft or as tasty as the peanut butter, but you'll get the idea as to where it's going. Now, it stops right around here where there's another little valve that opens up and allows the point of the sword into the stomach. Now, the point of the sword is going to touch the bottom of my stomach approximately right over there. It's good I wore pants during this show today. Woo, okay. And of course, the point of the sword is going to rest on the bottom of my stomach approximately right over here. Now, at any point during the act, if I were to push that sword down with any amount of force, I would certainly pop the bottom of my stomach, causing internal bleeding. It would not be pretty. Of course, it is October Halloween season, but it still would not be pretty. If I continue pushing that sword down, well, you know what would happen? I'd probably rip through my pants, and that's not a good thing, even if I am at home. So right now, let's see if I can get 27.5 inches of solid steel down the hatch without a scratch. Yeah, my friends, thank you very, very much. That is how we do it in Coney Island. My name's Adam Realman, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
That was absolutely amazing, amazing, amazing. I don't even know what to say about that. That was disgustingly cool. Yeah, and so that was our pop. But like I said, this show is about bubble and pop. So we have one of the best, in my opinion, maybe my humble opinion, one of the best bubble performers out there. I'm gonna bring her in so we can all see her. Meadow, let's say, can I hear you? Let me just get a quick.
Yes, hi.
Yes, awesome.
Hello.
Meadow, it's all about you. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are going to be doing a bubble show. I'm super excited to see this, and maybe we can chat a little bit about it afterwards if you're okay with that.
Absolutely. I love
Fantastic.
chatting about bubbles.
Who doesn't love chatting about bubbles? I feel like. But let me bring you out. You enjoy, everybody. This is Meadow. She is an amazing magician, bubble performer, and just all around amazing entertainer. So everybody enjoy the show.
Thank you, Steve. Once again, my name is Meadow Perry, and I have a very particular set of skills. Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. Not today. I'm a bubble magician. You may not have heard of that before, and I could spend all day explaining the science behind the bubbles, the magic behind the bubbles, and the art of creating a fleeting moment, or I could just show you. One sec, folks. I have to fix my music. The wrong song queued up. And I have bubbles on my hands. Here we go. The wonderful music by Drew Nugent. There we go. Drew Nugent and the Midnight Society with Kiss Me Sweet.
Why don't you kiss me sweet? Here's a real sensation. Kiss me sweet. I'm longing for affection. When you press your lovely lips to mine, I feel a funny feeling creeping down my spine. Kiss me now. Can't wait any longer. Show me how one could be more fonder with your arms around me tight. Just wanna look into your eyes so bright. My love's coming, mommy, when you kiss me sweet. With your arms around me tight. Get one look into your eyes, so bright. My gosh, got me wanting when you kiss me sweet.
Now, when most people think of bubbles, they think of them in a very specific shape, a very specific form. But when you spend as much time as I do with bubbles, you begin to see them in a completely different dimension. One sec, folks. Get some more Drew Nugent in here for you. And I somehow deleted the playlist. All right. Here we go with Echo of Spring by Drew Nugent. There we go. Technical difficulties. Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Meadow Perry, and one more thing before the end of the act. I have one last thing for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
Whoa. That was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you so much. So I have a couple questions. I've been writing them down. I'll start with, I get Danny out here. He's got a question for you, which I think everybody's asking this question. How do the bubbles not pop? I mean, you're making all these things. You're manipulating. Every time I touch a bubble, they pop.
A lot of practice.
A lot of practice. Okay.
Yeah.
So practice, what do you have to be gentle, like just very
slightly? Yes. You have to be very delicate. I mean, I do have a pretty good bubble solution that helps make my bubbles what's called self-healing. But you know, I'm also in my bubble studio where I've controlled the conditions. I've controlled the humidity. There's a lot of scientific things that go into it. So, yeah.
Who would have thought making bubbles is very scientific? That's
yeah.
So is it your own bubble solution?
It is not. It is a bubble solution from a woman who holds a Guinness Book World Record. But there are many bubble magicians that hold world records, and they all have different solutions. Okay. So
interesting. So yeah. How did you get into making bubbles? Like I feel like this is a very unique thing. What made you decide to start doing this as a show?
Yeah. So I'm a musical theater actress, and I started doing children's parties as a princess, and I decided, you know, I wanted something that was my own thing, that wasn't a copyrighted character. And so I decided to look into magic. Okay. And in the meantime, while I was learning magic, I joined the Renaissance Fair.
Okay.
And I brought this.
This is how you know, said Daniel.
Yeah. Hi, Daniel. So I brought this character called Meadowlark the Fairy to the Renaissance Fair. And someone nudged me and said, "Hey, you should do bubbles with your character. That's very magical." So I did, and it became so popular that I said, "What else can I do with bubbles? Can we make this a thing?" And I found that there's a whole world of bubbles out there. There's an association of international bubble artists. Yeah, it's in other countries. It's wildly popular, but it hasn't caught on as much here in the States. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's your so you did a lot of different things during the bubble show. They're called tricks, if I'm not mistaken, right? Bubble tricks. Okay.
Yeah, bubble effects, bubble tricks.
Bubble effects. Okay. What's your favorite bubble trick?
Oh gosh. Well, so I didn't do my favorite bubble trick for you, but I can do it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you big then.
So this is one of my favorite pieces to do.
There we go.
Okay.
Now you go.
It's a little tricky to get sometimes. Actually, I'm going to use a different one. It might help.
I'm actually going to make you the only.
Now this one is aptly called the carousel. I can bring it a little closer to you. So that's the carousel. That one's my favorite.
That's so pretty.
Yeah, that's a Tom Noddy trick that he came up with, the godfather of bubbles.
So wait, did you have to like, go there and pay homage to him or something like that?
It's a little like that, yeah.
Wait, so I know I'm a magician. I don't know if you know this,
Sure.
but I'm a magician. And as a magician, I know they have like conventions and stuff like that for bubble performers or for magicians. Do they have the same thing in the bubble community? Like, do you have like
They do.
gatherings and stuff?
They do. It's rather new. They've only been doing it for a few years, but they it's funny because they try to always plan it like someplace really nice, like a tropical beach or something. And it is amazing. All these bubble artists from around the world come and they, make bubbles together and go on the beach.
Everything's sticky by the end of the week, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a legit concern. Being able to have transportation to the beach, like carrying gallons of bubble juice. So there's a lot of planning, and like
So
also finding the ingredients, because you can't fly with things, so you either have to ship it ahead of time or whatever. Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought of that. That's true. You can't bring in liquids. That's very true.
Yeah, it's very complicated.
I would never have thought of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, so I got a couple more questions. What's the hardest part about working with bubbles?
Oh, the hardest part is your environment.
Okay.
I've gone to venues where I've shown up at a place to do a show, and it's literally a warehouse that's really dusty.
Oh, no.
Like they've converted it,
Yeah.
but it's still very dusty, or it's an old opera house and it's very dusty. So those times the conditions are a little rough, but I've been doing this for a little while. So I bring in like these big humidifiers and I set them up hours before the show, so I can have my conditions the way I want it.
That's really
But
impressive.
It's a whole thing. And then, you have to make sure you have mats.
Nobody wants to slip.
Yeah. Bringing in the mats. The mats are heavy.
Do you have like the little signs that you put up, like, it may be wet kind of thing?
Yes, I do. And I'm like, are there any acts going on after me? You have to be very careful.
So you're always the grand finale is what you're trying to say. You're just always going to finish the show.
Yes.
It's for safety reasons, not because I'm
Not because I'm best. Yeah.
Yes. So that leads me to a question. What is what's like the worst thing that's ever happened? Has there been like a disaster
Oh my gosh.
where like nothing worked, or like every bubble? I mean, I guess every bubble eventually pops, but like
yes.
Pop.
So I went to a magic convention. It was the East Coast Spirit Sessions.
Okay.
And they put me in their Stars of the Bazaar show, and I was really excited. But it was in South Carolina, and I had traveled with my bubbles, and they got cold. And I didn't think it wasn't that cold, so I didn't think that it would really affect the bubbles, but it really did. And I did a bubble test before the show; it was fine. But I went to go do the bubble wall, and it wasn't working.
Oh no!
So, but it was a great moment of everyone going, "Oh no, it's not working for her. Oh no!" And then it finally did work a little bit, and I did some of those really cool effects that you saw now. And I mean, the audience was just cheering for me, so it kind of built up the suspense.
Yeah.
And that was a nice learning moment of like, oh, I can build up the suspense with this stuff.
So if it pops a couple times, everybody's like, it pops. It's not just like
But that's the great thing about, like, my show isn't dangerous except for like the fire, but there's this danger of being delicate and working this fragile thing, and everyone going, oh, is she gonna pop it? Is she gonna do it? And that's what I think makes a bubble show great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Daddy has a question. He has another one. How long have you been doing bubble shows for?
Oh my gosh, I've been doing bubble shows for like 3 years. So I'm not new to performing, but I'm new to bubbles as a medium. I'm not that new because I've been doing it for 3 years, but
3 years long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Has it always been this show, or have you been adding to it and changing it?
I've been adding to it. I used to have more magic in my show because I started with my Meadowlark the Fairy show. So I was making flowers appear, and she was very earthly and elemental. And then graduated more towards bubbles, and then created this stage show that's meant to be indoors. And that was really just starting to take off when the pandemic hit. So now it's all virtual.
Your virtual show is very impressive. And I before we started, I mentioned that we've had another bubble performer on here prior, and it's challenging doing it virtually because seeing the bubbles.
Yeah.
So now you have to not just be a great bubble performer, but you also have to be like a studio director with lights.
Well, yeah, you saw I had a little bit of an issue today. It decided to play a different playlist for some reason. I don't know why. I haven't had that problem before. And then my hands had bubbles on them, so I'm trying to fix it.
All of a sudden, you start seeing sparks flying out because you get it wet. It happens. Okay.
Yeah. And I had that issue. I actually back in August, my show got delayed for a couple months because the bubble popped on my laptop, and I didn't have the plastic cover on it, and sent it out. And Best Buy Geek Squad lost my laptop, so I had to get a new one. But they worked with me and we worked it out. So
so shout out to Geek Squad. They get it in the end. There you go. Good job. That's funny. But okay, so you mentioned you were a magician first. What's it like? So like I said, as a magician, I know it's a very male-dominated world. What's it like being a female magician? I mean, I don't know if there are female out there watching or young girls.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
It's just like any performance art industry. It is very male dominated, but there are a lot of great female magicians out there, magicians who are women. You're going to have that anywhere you go. You have it in musical theater. You have, where the gender thing is everywhere. You can't get away from it. You just deal with it the best you can. But there's been some fabulous strides in the magic community. In regards to gender and like podcasts like Shazam. It's a feminist podcast, and shout out. They're really awesome. But yeah, it's I don't know if it's because I'm more visual as an artist, but there's definitely a little bit of that, like, wow, I'm the only woman here sometimes, So
I can only imagine. I mean, like I said, I'm fortunate. I have a few friends in the magic community who are females as well, and so I see it, and that this a topic that we talk about. So I guess on that note, any advice for the girls out there that are young ladies out there that are thinking about getting into this kind of stuff?
Find other women in magic and support each other. That's I have a couple friends that are local to me that are women that are magicians, and we boost each other up. We support each other. We do our own jam with each other. That's really.
I feel like it's got to be a little bit different. I mean, how you present yourself, how you do things. A lot of the magic. I know a lot of the magic is kind of designed in a certain way for the
absolutely.
For men. So it's got to be. It's good to work together to figure things out, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a thing with women in magic, is that a lot of times we have to create our own stuff. So inherently, we kind of become more creative. Like, I can't just bring out a wallet to set it on fire because I wouldn't carry a wallet.
Not like that. At least,
yes. So there's magic things like that, or it just, in our costuming, like, we can't hide anything up our sleeves,
no large, coats to hide things into. Yes.
Pockets, our dresses don't have pockets usually, so we have to.
I feel like that's an overall problem in the female clothing situation.
Yeah.
How do you? But that's why you have somebody else that has pockets, or you carry the little backpacks or bags. I feel jealous. I mean, I don't get to carry a bag and put my stuff into it. You have like a giant. No.
Right. You can carry a bag. Absolutely. Bags are not gendered.
That's true. That is true. Okay, so going into like actual shows wise, what is the best? It sounds like you've done some really cool shows, really cool experiences and stuff. Being in theaters and things like that. What's the coolest show you've ever done?
Oh gosh. I think probably the coolest show I did was right before the pandemic hit. I did the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC, and they had a whole makeup and costuming team outfit me, and I looked like I looked like a villain from Sailor Moon. I don't know if anyone knows Sailor Moon, but I looked like a little like Japanese cartoon. I had like pink hair with little balls and like huge eyelashes, and it was amazing. But then, I got to be this character, and that I wouldn't have come up with my own, and it was a lot of fun, and people really, really enjoyed it. When they would walk into the venue, into the building, there was with my bubbles, and they were like, wow, this is amazing. So it like really set the tone for the event, and I really loved that.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So all right, for people that are still watching out there, what can they do at home to start doing bubbles? Like, can they start making some kind of solution? Can you give us some insight? I know from my understanding, bubble solution is like a trade secret kind of thing. You don't tell people about what you're like, my bubbles are my bubbles. Nobody can know. So it's like the Coke recipe or the Pepsi recipe. Nobody knows about.
It really is. And every bubble artist has a different solution. Like, we use the same ingredients, but we have different variations on it. And everybody spends their own time kind of experimenting and finding what works the best for them. And I think that's why bubble artists are so protective over their recipes. But there are some easy things that you can do at home, using Karo syrup to make your bubbles a little bit stronger. And some people use sugar, just straight up sugar. So that makes them a little sticky. So that helps them. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have a recipe on there for you to try at home. And really just trying it out. There's also, you can buy big bubble solutions on Amazon, or you can go to like Five Below or whatever. And you can get them and make your own big bubbles in your backyard. And they're a lot of fun. Yeah, that's probably the best route to go. But just play around, grab pipe cleaners and make your own bubble wands. Use straws. Find whatever you can to experiment with and make bubbles. You can use a shoestring and dip it in and blow a big bubble. There's a lot of fun things, and once you just start playing around with it, you start to understand kind of how bubbles work and how you can stretch their boundaries.
So literally stretch their boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Danny wants to know, what is that? What is your YouTube channel? What channel?
So if you just search for Meadow Perry on YouTube, you will find it. They haven't given me my own URL yet, my own URL. It's in the process, so gotcha. I'm still waiting. But if you just look up Meadow Perry, you'll find me on there. I promise.
And then one more question, I guess, for you. Is there anybody that you look up to in this bubble world, or I guess in general? Do you have like a hero that you look up to?
I really look up to Tom Noddy, as he kind of pioneered the bubble world. But then going into sort of the history of bubbles, there were scientists that kind of were the beginning of bubble stuff. And Agnes Pockels has been a person that I've taken a lot of inspiration from. She was from the 1800s, and she wasn't allowed to go to university, but she was really interested in chemistry. So she wasn't taken seriously, but her research still lives on. And I think that's amazing, that she sort of persists, even though she didn't win a Nobel Prize or anything like that. But she's still touted as, a head scientist in the surface tension science. And I think that's amazing. I love that kind of stuff. That's
very cool.
Yeah.
So do you still do any magic anymore, or is it just bubbles now?
I do magic in my show, and I actually have another show coming up on January 8th. Okay. If you follow my page, I haven't announced it yet, but
big announcement.
I haven't put like the big marketing out there yet for it, but January 8th will be another show. I just wrapped my inaugural show of the run 2 nights ago, and it was a success, and it was really exciting. But I do magic in that show. I even do stuff with cards, and yeah, so it's
true magic. Yeah, there you go. Very cool. And
yeah, I like putting the two together.
What's your Facebook
my
page?
Facebook page? My Facebook page is Meadow Perry. If you do facebook.com/meadowperry.art, that's where you'll find me, because there are other Meadow Perrys in the world.
You're not unique in the name. So you got to come up with. You should have just done with the fairy name. Just come up with something.
Yeah.
Totally. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've taken. You were amazing, and thank you for taking some time to answer some
Absolutely.
questions. And it was really great chatting with you. And thank you guys, everybody, for joining us today. I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys next.